The number of armed and violent neo-Nazis is on the rise. The far-right movement is diversifying, attracting growing numbers of students and middle-class professionals. Revelations of mass murder and hate crimes force the German authorities to admit they've done too little for too long. Is Germany's Nazi past preventing it from fighting right-wing extremism now? Last November, amongst the wreckage of this burnt-out flat, police unpacked one of the biggest scandals of Germany's post-war history. The flat had been home to Beate Zschäpe, Uwe Böhnhardt and Uwe Mundlos. Known neo-Nazi activists, they'd been on the run for years after police linked them to a garage full of weapons and bomb-making equipment back in 1998. But as the German public was about to discover, they didn't exactly keep a low profile. To earn some extra cash, Beate Zschäpe designed and sold a version of Monopoly. Germany's intelligence service showed us the game. Concentration camps are the most desirable properties on the board. The trio is also believed to have made this DVD, rather bizarrely using the Pink Panther cartoon character to boast that they went on a 10-year killing spree, carrying out at least 9 racially motivated murders nationwide. As evidence, they use photos police say they took of their victims, shot in the head in broad daylight. Here, in a mocking tone, the trio trumpets their authorship of this devastating nail bomb attack in a Turkish neighborhood of Cologne in 2004. 22 people were injured, many of them seriously. The trio say their action answers the German nationalist call to serve their people and their country. They sign off as the National Socialist Underground, or NSU, echoing the National Socialism of Hitler's Germany. Police now believe Beate Zschäpe set fire to their flat. She then turned herself in, but is reportedly refusing to talk. Her accomplices were found dead elsewhere in an apparent murder-suicide. Had that not been the case, their murderous work may never have come to light. These revelations sent shockwaves across Germany. All the more when it became apparent the trio's allegiance to the far right and their violent tendencies were flagged up to the authorities even when they were youngsters, growing up in this small East German town.
All too often they'd put one of us in hospital, or there'd be a broken arm, a broken nose, an injury that needed stitches, new scars. It was really in amongst the neo-Nazis at one stage to stub out burning cigarettes on the chests of 14, 15-year-old girls. Serious intimidation, basically. They were amongst the front line of neo-Nazis in Jena. We all knew them, knew their faces. We knew them because we were scared of them on the streets at night. Their faces were seared into our memories.
Katharina König says although she and her left-wing friends were often attacked by the local neo-Nazis, the police did nothing.
It's as if they didn't care. The authorities reacted with real ignorance, as if we were simply rival youth gangs getting into brawls. The political background to all this was completely ignored.
Later, when the neo-Nazi group began to murder Turkish businessmen, police again ignored the possibility of a right-wing hate crime. They blamed the killings on the Turkish mafia. We've seen a secret internal report revealing serious blunders by law enforcement agencies. They had the group under close surveillance for several years, but never took decisive action. Why weren't they stopped before they began to kill? Helmut Rover was the local intelligence chief at the time.
In this moment, in my eyes, It was necessary to arrest those people at once, in my eyes. Police did not.
Why?
I can't explain it. I can't explain it. We thought that we had them 2 or 3 times, and it was not possible to arrest them. I can't explain it. I can't. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
We kept asking him, but he had no answers for us. Allegations have been made in Germany not just of incompetence, but of right-wing sympathies inside the country's secret services and police force, something the institutions vehemently deny.
Here in Germany, it's impossible to discuss far-right or even nationalist activity in isolation, outside the context of this country's Nazi past. Germany's post-war constitution was very much written in the vein of never again. So the story of the Nationalist Socialist underground throws up some disturbing questions. Just how is it that a group of militant neo-Nazis was allowed to flourish? And just how popular and how powerful are the far-right and nationalist extremists in Germany today?
Human rights groups say more than 180 people have been killed in right-wing attacks in Germany over the last 20 years. Neo-Nazis have murdered more people in post-war Germany than any other single group, including Islamists and the far left. But this is not reflected in official data. The German government now admits mistakes were made.
Apparently there have been hints and indications of right-wing extremism, but it was not taken seriously enough, and therefore we have put this very high on the political agenda. We have adopted a resolution of German Parliament unanimously for the first time after the war, where we urge the police and security institutions to do their utmost in clarifying the reasons of failure. Nobody in Germany expected to see such a well-working network of right-wing terrorism as was revealed now.
But why is that? Martin is a former neo-Nazi leader. He's now left the movement and asked us to hide his identity. He says the neo-Nazi trio's murderous exploits should have come as no surprise.
The militant scene has always said we need people who are willing and able and trained in case it comes to civil war. The scene is armed, it's military. This does lead to people being killed. Weapons training is carried out in secret. In the Arab world, for instance, with freedom movements there. The right-wing scene sees itself as a freedom movement.
Martin was part of a growing movement of secretive far-right groups in Germany called the Free Forces.
No longer only rooted in the past, these groups tend not to call themselves Nazi or neo-Nazi, but rather the Free Forces. They're attracting a new kind of crowd, including students, the middle classes and intellectuals. They're harnessing social media and using new modern forms and means and reasons for protest. When it comes to them, one intelligence agent told me the security services here in Germany really are out of their depth.
This group, the Immortals, is part of the new crowd. Anti-globalization, anti-capitalist and anti-democratic, they warn of the impending extinction of the German people. Hard for the authorities to catch, they use text messaging to organize spontaneous demos across the country, like this one in their propaganda video. After 15 minutes on the street, they've gone.
The leadership is always trying to attract members of the so-called upper classes, students who one day can act as lawyers or doctors for the scene, really do something to help the movement. You'd never imagine that those sorts of people supported the far right, and they may deny their affiliation in public. but they are very much part of the movement, more so now than ever before.
Far-right activists are somewhat camera-shy. But what exactly do they want? They say they're hounded by police and hemmed in by post-war German laws. We went to Berlin's best-known neo-Nazi pub, the Executioner, to see if we could tempt the punters to talk. They've never let a camera crew in here before, but after a couple of Himmler cocktails, Uwe Dreisch, the former head of a now-banned neo-Nazi group, sat down with us.
Who are we? We are nationalists. We care deeply about our fatherland. We don't like the state that exists here right now in Germany. We want to rebuild our country for our citizens, the German people. We want to protect our culture, our country, our religion. In Britain, you too are proud of your country, but here I, as a German, am a second-class citizen. This is because we live with eternal war guilt here in Germany. Others get preferential treatment, not us Germans. Those outside here who say this pub is full of evil Nazis, how would they know? They're afraid to talk to us. They try to ban us.
The British owner of the pub asked us to hide his identity to protect his family. He was amongst many that night who complained to us about strict German laws they believe are used to persecute the far right.
If the German government make laws that you can't express your freedom of speech, then there will be an uprising. It will happen. Just because it will be forbidden, it will happen. If they let these laws go, then people will be a lot more freer. They will say what they think. There'll be more discussion, and they won't have as many political problems as they do today. That's my feeling on it. But I'm just a pub owner. That's it, you know. I've got a regular crowd of people who come in here, and they drink beer, and they discuss. And the police and the state, they don't like that. They don't like that at all.
What many lawmakers in Germany say they don't like is that the far right rejects the German state.
And if you look around the streets at the street signs and the bus stops, you will find stickers, flyers, graffitis from the free forces in particular, showing that this particular territory is marked for the right-wing circles. You will find basically the broad spectrum. So you will have the NPD active here, you will have the free forces, the neo-Nazi groups, the more militant groups, the youth organizations from the NPD. So you will find the basically established political circles and the more militant neo-Nazi groups. And in this area of town years ago we had some clashes, riots, even some beatings and killings of people. They forced out what they call the political enemy, foreigners, left wings, Democrats, whatever. And they achieved this goal basically some years ago. So right now, this area is more or less for them free of political enemies. So you basically would just change your living space.
Well, we're now in the middle of the countryside. We're on our way to Jammel. It is the only village that really has been completely taken over by neo-Nazis in Germany to date. They have all the houses now except for one. They pretty much forced out all the other villagers.
In the middle of the village is this Nazi Germany-styled mural, proclaiming that the area is free, social and national. The German authorities recently forced the villagers here to take down a signpost pointing towards Hitler's birthplace. People here weren't particularly pleased to see us or keen to talk to us. Prior to coming here, I had tried to organise an interview with the leading family of the village, but they weren't keen on our camera.
They want to live out their ideology. And this is something I think is the most dangerous threat. They want to change the society from within.
Far-right groups also run summer camps for children and families, like this one in North Germany, filmed a few years ago. This youth organisation was later banned. The German Interior Ministry said it was indoctrinating children in Nazi ideology, as well as giving them military training. But the courtship of youngsters continues. The nationalists run youth clubs and sports clubs. They're playing the social card in the current economic crisis, offering welfare advice and family assistance, hoping to attract new supporters.
They can't win over all parts of German society with anti-Semitic and Nazi rhetoric. The welfare debate touches most people these days, but it's fake. That's how they get people in. One well-known neo-Nazi activist said, "We'll make sure to be where people are suffering most, where they are shouting for help. People are like shit, malleable. Eventually we'll have them where we want them."
The NPD is the legal political wing of the far right. It has elected representatives in 2 out of Germany's 16 state parliaments. Udo Pasteurs is the deputy leader of the NPD nationwide and its leader in the regional parliament of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern.
German children need the land. We want to keep the German people alive with our own biological vitality, so that tomorrow and the day after, Germany still earns the name Germany. Because imagine a country called Germany that's filled only with Africans, with us importing nice little sweet nigger children. We don't want Germany to be the paymasters of Greece and Ireland with all their debts. We want out of the euro. We want a good social program for German children, so German families can have more children. We want security for Germans in their old age. When you know that, you'll understand why the established German authorities want to ban us.
The German government says it's looking to ban the NPD because of its association with extremists. And its alleged links to the neo-Nazi killer trio, the National Socialist Underground.
Formally, the National Democratic Party tries to behave in a constitutional way. Informally, we have the impression that this is a party that is hostile to the basic values of our constitution: protection of human dignity, equality of treatment, etc. And the German constitution, given the terrific experience of the Third Reich, provides a possibility to ban political parties hostile to basic values of the constitutions. But it has to be proven, there has to be evidence for this.
The NPD is also criticised for its questioning of the Holocaust. I asked Udo Pasteurs what he thought of Hitler.
Look here. If one speaks about a historical figure, it's impossible to do so during a short interview.
I could ask lots of people what they thought of Hitler. They'd be able to answer me in very few words.
But those are emotions, not facts. I don't ask people in Dresden what they think of Bomber Harris.
You're totally avoiding my question. What do you think of Hitler, and what of the 6 million Jews?
Let me point out to you that in Germany you are punishable by law if you don't accept the authorities' version of what happened at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Every year in Germany, about 1,500 people are taken to court, prosecuted, and sometimes thrown in jail because they raise doubts about specific historical issues. I ask for your understanding. I do not wish to talk about these issues. I do not live in a free country. The Federal Republic of Germany is not a free country as regards this topic.
German nationalists say they represent the German people. Most Germans insist they certainly do not. But statistics indicate the euro crisis and wider economic woes mean increasing numbers are sympathetic to the anti-immigrant Germans first message espoused by the far right. This was the state memorial service for the victims of the neo-Nazi killer trio, the NSU, earlier this year. Just a few days before, more than 2,000 neo-Nazis marched in Dresden. At the memorial, there was a profound sense of remorse, with political promises to crack down on the far right. But as the story fades from the national headlines, human rights groups say they're concerned the neo-Nazi issue will be neglected again. It is a minority movement, but Germany's nationalists and the so-called free forces are a force that needs to be dealt with. The question is how.